Daytime on Friday at a high of 87 degrees. All day, every day, news, weather, and traffic on News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm meteorologist Jeff Nordine.
This report is sponsored by Dairy Queen.
DQ presents, picture this. You stand before the new signature stack burger menu at DQ. 5 cheeseburgers with 100% real seasoned beef, like the loaded A1 stack burger. And your mouth wonders, where have you been all my life? DQ. Happy tastes good.
6:10 on Good Morning Orlando, and we are following this story among others this morning. It's a big day in the fight for abortion rights. Senate Democrats are going to vote to make Roe v. Wade a federal law. Republicans expected to block the bill, but Chuck Schumer says it will at least force every senator to reveal where they stand on the issue. Updates at least every 10 minutes on these stories and more throughout the morning here on Good Morning Orlando.
Now on FM 94.1, still on FM 93.1, 107.7 HD3, AM 540, and the iHeart Radio app. This is News Radio WFLA Orlando.
Hi guys, big day today. On the line with Alan and myself, we've got Representative Anna Eskamani, and a little bit during a virtual press conference the other day, Anna, you had some wonderful things to say about our Governor Ron DeSantis. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, and good morning.
Now, you're in Germany, so there might be a little bit of a lag. You knew that, right, Alan?
The old satellite delay?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's fine. We'll wait.
So would you tell us why you think Ron DeSantis is scared to indicate about the all-out abortion ban?
Absolutely. I mean, the reality is that banning abortion is incredibly unpopular among not just Floridians, but Americans. And in fact, there's not one state where a majority of people want to see abortion banned. Of course, there's folks who have different perspectives on gestational limits and different medical guidance that you'll see be the norm in states across America. But when it comes to politically motivated restrictions, it really is seen as politically unpopular. And so the governor's been avoiding talking about an actual abortion ban compared to this past legislative session where he just signed a 15-week ban into law. And so it does seem to me that Republicans don't want to wake up voters around this issue, which for us as strong supporters of reproductive health and women's health care in general, we want folks to understand what's at risk in 2022.
Again, we're talking to Representative Anna Eskamani. I wanted to ask you, those who support Roe v. Wade don't want to see it overturned, are fearing this will be the start of a number of dominoes falling, that we could see a threat to gay rights, to same-sex marriage, to contraception. Are you afraid of that?
Oh, there's a great deal of concern, Alan, without a doubt. I mean, the leaked Supreme Court majority opinion outlined how reproductive rights is attached to other collective rights. And this is 50 years of precedent that 13 different Supreme Court justices have upheld from different political backgrounds, Republican appointed and Democrat appointed. So I think this really is causing a ripple effect of concern around the country because Justice Alito explicitly refers to marriage equality as not being a historic right and thus doesn't see it as legitimate. And so despite the direction that our nation has moved and being more inclusive and embracing different family structures, unfortunately, the Supreme Court seems to be wanting to unravel all of these freedoms. So from reproductive health to interracial marriages to same-sex marriage, all the way to accessing contraception without seeking permission from your husband. All of that right now is potentially up for debate if the protections under Roe v. Wade are eliminated.
So you think we're looking down the sights of the handmaiden tale kind of a deal if we let this go?
Yeah, I'm sad to say that, despite the fact that the attitudes around the country have shifted, SCOTUS seems back in time right now. And if we don't step up and vote our conscience and vote our values and also go beyond the partisanship on these freedoms, then we absolutely are going back in time.
Yeah, we just mentioned in the news, Congresswoman Representative Eskamani, that Senate Democrats are going to vote today to make Roe v. Wade a federal law. Would you like to see that happen?
Absolutely. And for listeners to know, I'm a state house representative, as you noted. So I fight for these issues in the state legislature. But looking at Congress, looking at the U.S. Senate, codifying these protections and kind of making it explicit that this is the standard, that you will be able to express bodily autonomy and make personal private decisions about your pregnancy without political interference. Setting that as the national standard would be a powerful step in the right direction, and of course would provide security to women across the state who at this point are looking at a future of not only unsafe abortion access, but having to cross state lines to express bodily autonomy. And already in Florida with the 15-week abortion ban, which, by the way, majority of abortion services are obtained in the first trimester. For those beyond 15 weeks, it's often due to really difficult, tragic circumstances. And you are going to be pushing those women to North Carolina as their closest option, even just with 15 weeks, let alone a complete ban, where we see some women in Texas going to Mexico to access an abortion because that country is more welcome and open to these services compared to even countries in our own great nation.
Anna, how do you feel about some companies like Amazon offering $4,000 for people to, or I should say for women to go across state lines and get abortions? I mean, I think that's just ridiculous myself. How do you feel about that?
It's sad that we have to come to that, right? The notion that, and for many of these corporations, by the way, it's not that they're woke, and I'm using air quotes for listeners. The reality is that you can't retain top talent and have a diverse workforce in your state if women can't be women in the state. If women can't have the same rights, then they're going to be deciding, well, where do I want my career? Where do I want to raise my girls? Where do I want to raise my family? I mean, this is something dads are going to be processing as well. And so companies know that they're going to struggle to just hire and retain diverse workforce if the state itself is making it harder for half the population to exist. And so I think that's why you see many of these companies pursuing these types of policies. However, if they're still donating to anti-abortion politicians, you are not solving the problem, honey. Like, you need to stop contributing to the politicians who support these laws, who do not reflect the majority of perspectives in this country. That would help solve the system versus the Band-Aid that would help a handful of people compared to the entire nation.
Again, joining us on Good Morning Orlando all the way from Germany this morning, Representative Anna Eskamani, and we appreciate that. Wanted to ask you, those who criticize people who are pro-choice, such as yourself, say, well, they are pro-abortion and they're in favor of killing babies. Murderers. How do you respond to that?
Well, I appreciate that question. Decisions about when life begins are super personal. And candidly, I respect those who believe life begins at conception. And I am sure that an abortion would not be a decision that they would make. And I think that's totally fine. At the end of the day, it's about your personal decision and what situation you find yourself in. I actually don't even define myself as pro-choice. I don't define my opposition as pro-life, because I don't think these labels actually reflect the nuance of the conversation. Listen, these are very unique circumstances. We're not in her shoes. And when you're making a decision about your family, about your future, you should have all options in front of you. You should be supported in raising a child, which is why I championed the diaper tax break this legislative session, because I want to make it easier to be a parent. We should make adoption as accessible as possible, but abortion access is also a healthcare need. And some women find themselves in a situation based on the pregnancy no longer being viable, based on their own health concerns, whether it's physical or mental. And we should ensure that they can make that decision without judgment or shame. And for my colleagues who are people of faith, I don't think we should judge others for making these decisions. And when you look at research of women who have been turned away from an abortion because of state laws, they are much more financially insecure, and we are setting them up for a destiny that is not one of their own. It's one of the government's making. And I don't think that's appropriate.
We've been talking to Orlando Democrat Representative Anna Eskamani about Roe v. Wade and more. And Alan and I thank you both for coming on the show this morning from Germany. We appreciate your efforts. Thank you so much for being on Good Morning Orlando today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Got to check on traffic and weather together in just 2 minutes on Good Morning Orlando at 6:20.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like